Hello and welcome to HITC Sevens, and a Merry Christmas to one and all. Whether you are a Christian to whom Christmas is a deeply spiritual festival, whether you adhere to some other faith and don't celebrate Christmas at all, or whether you're a godless ape like me who relies upon Christmas primarily for a fresh set of socks to see you through the new year, it's a Merry Christmas to HITC 7 viewers far and wide, and I do have a very Christmassy video in store for you all. A couple of weeks back, I put out a question on Twitter asking for your suggestions for a Christmas Day special episode, and I was pleased to see that the most popular suggestion of all was a documentary video about FC Santa Claus from subscriber The Silver Dude, since I was going to make that video just for Christmas Eve if it hadn't been the most popular suggestion anyway. Clearly, great minds think alike, and it is a well-known fact that HITC 7 subscribers are the most intelligent on all of YouTube. Now, I'm sure that many of you, like me, had heard of FC Santa Claus and had seen their club badge before. In fact, I seem to recall that they are not actually HITC 7's versions, having appeared in one of my earliest videos, in which I took a look at 7 of the most unusual crests in world football. However, it would be fair to say that outside of their obvious Christmassy novelty and festive fervour, I didn't know a great deal about the club. So, whilst for some people, traditionally at least, Christmas is a time for giving, a time for reflection, and a time for gratitude, while spending time with the people who matter most in our lives, 2020 is not like most years. And this year, I think we can all agree that Christmas is actually a time for learning about a struggling amateur football team from the freezing cold northernmost region of Finland. So sit yourselves down, strap in, and join me for a journey into the world's most Christmas-themed football club. Oh, and by the way, there aren't many images in the Getty database of FC Santa Claus, so there's just going to be some Christmas-themed images throughout. Whilst we can trace the story of Santa Claus all the way back to old St. Nicholas, a Greek bishop and gift giver from Myra in modern-day Turkey back in the 4th century, if not beyond, FC Santa Claus are not quite as old as that. The Finnish minnows were actually founded through a merger in 1993 of 2 Lapland-based teams, Rovaniemi Reipas and Rovaniemi Lappi. Both teams were struggling in the Kakkonen, the Finnish word for 2, and also, somewhat confusingly, the name of Finland's 3rd tier, in 1992. Before you judge them, don't forget that the English 2nd division is called the Championship, and our 3rd tier is literally called League 1. It was felt that a merger would help establish the new team as a staple of Finland's 3rd tier, and perhaps give them the resources to push on and reach the 2nd tier for the first time. The new team still needed a name though, a common dilemma among teams forged out of merging of multiple clubs. Typically, it comes down to a compromise appropriating part of the name of each of the former clubs, but the team's founders decided to go with something rather different. Tarho Lien was the founder who first proposed the name FC Santa Claus, and following a few odd looks, his partners soon came around to the idea. There is not a huge pool of sponsors and lower league football fans in Lapland, and no doubt they felt the club's new name could encourage external investment. You could call it a gimmick, but the FC Santa Claus founders were very serious about creating a competitive football club. The club's official name is FC Santa Claus AC, the AC standing for Arctic Circle. Nicknamed Santa, FC Santa Claus AC are based in the city of Rovaniemi, which is the capital of Finland's largest and northernmost province of Lapland. 6 different countries, Canada, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Russia and the United States, have territories inside of the Arctic Circle, but only 4 million people inhabit these regions due to the often rather inhospitable climate. Rovaniemi is the world's largest settlement within the immediate vicinity of the Arctic Circle, lying only 4 miles or 6.5 kilometres south of the line, and with a population of just over 63,000 at the last count. Despite this fact, Rovaniemi remains incredibly sparsely populated in relation to its size, since it is technically the largest city in the entire European Union by landmass. There's a very good reason why Rovaniemi wasn't home to a team called FC Santa Claus prior to 1993, and I don't mean because no one had been mad enough to name a team after Santa prior to that point. The primary reason is because Rovaniemi hasn't always been Santa's hometown. Up until the mid-1980s, Santa Claus was said to reside at the Korvacinchori Fell in Savikoski, around 150 miles northeast of Rovaniemi, as the crow flies, right on the border between Finland and Russia. Given its name due to its supposed resemblance to the shape of an ear, in Finnish folklore, Father Christmas is said to have selected this location since the shape of the fell allows him to hear the Christmas wishes of children throughout the world. So Korvacinchori, not Rovaniemi, was the spiritual home of Santa Claus, his elves, and his workshop for many, many years. However, Korvacinchori is very barren. In fact, Outside of good old St. Nick and his helpers, it has no human inhabitants, just thousands upon thousands of reindeer which roam the land. Even the entire local municipality of Savakoski, in which Korvachenchori is based, is home to just 1,010 people, with somewhere in the region of 10 reindeer for every human in the town. The population density of Savakoski is 0.16 inhabitants per square kilometre. For comparison, the population density of London is 5,701 people per square kilometre. In Mumbai, there are more than 30,000 people per square kilometre, and even in the sparsely populated largest city within the EU of Rovaniemi, there are still more than 8 people per square kilometre. In the mid-1980s, Santa seemingly got a bit sick of living at Korvachenchori, which isn't even accessible by road, so he moved to the more happening city of Rovaniemi, where there is a nightclub and even a casino, just the kind of winding down that you need after a long hard day making toys for all of the world's children. Santa's move to Rovaniemi, which was named as his official new hometown in 1985, just so happened to coincide with the opening of an amusement park called Santa Claus Village in Rovaniemi. Each year, Santa Claus Village and Santa himself receive over 17 million letters and are visited by over 500,000 people. And rest assured, if you travel to Santa Claus Village and the accompanying Santa Park to visit Santa's grotto, you will be meeting the real Santa Claus. That is how Rovaniemi came to be the city of Santa Claus in 1985 and subsequently the city of FC Santa Claus in 1993. In fact, legend has it that the team's founders even paid Santa a visit at Santa Claus Village to ask for his permission to use his name, and the big man was all too happy to oblige. In their first season, FC Santa Claus put in a strong showing, finishing third in Finland's third tier, but that would prove to be their highest league finish for the next 12 years. In 1997, FC Santa Claus hosted Crystal Palace for a friendly game in Rovaniemi, which attracted over 5,000 spectators. This remains a record for the club, although they had similar positive experience when hosting other teams from across Europe, and from England in particular, around this time. Following 7 seasons in the Kakkonen, Santa were involved in a relegation playoff in the 1999 season. They emerged victorious, but the following year, the club was relegated to the 4th tier for the first time. For the life of me, I haven't been able to discover why they were relegated that season. Finland's third tier is split up into 4 regional divisions: North, South, East and West. Naturally, Santa featured in the North League, where they started to travel huge distances for away games, but they finished 8th out of 12 teams in the 2000 season, which ought to have ensured their survival. I can only assume that the club's third tier licence was revoked for financial reasons, given their league finish, and the fact that financial troubles at FC Santa Claus would hardly be out of character. Nonetheless, the team from Rovaniemi, whose motto is "Don't Stop Believing," eventually fought back in 2008, winning promotion back into the Kakkonen. In 2010, the team enjoyed their best ever season, winning their regional Kakkonen title and going into the promotion playoffs. There, they met HIFK and Ilves in a group stage format. Both HIFK and Santa Claus defeated Ilves, teeing up a promotion decider in the final group game. Just 3 minutes before the final whistle was blown, FC Santa Claus conceded, and HIFK won promotion. In the years since, the two teams have experienced vastly different fortunes, and where Santa would be now had they won that game is anyone's guess. Having come so close to promotion, FC Santa Claus decided to push the boat out, attempting to attract players from further afield than Rovaniemi and increasing their wages that they paid to their semi-professional players. However, the team went backwards rather than forwards, and financial difficulties followed. In 2012, they filed for bankruptcy, and it looked as though the dream was over. But a last-ditch fundraising campaign meant that Santa fans could keep believing, for now at least. The club began using its name and branding to attract overseas capital, whether it be through sponsorship, the sale of merchandise, or a growing global fanbase. FC Santa Claus had around 500 registered supporters from around the world at one stage, all paying an annual subscription fee, which is more than the number of fans at their home games at the same time. Partnerships were formed with the likes of Puma, Nike and EA Sports, with the club hoping they might be included on FIFA 16, although that last ambition never came to fruition. Whilst the club had raised enough money to stay afloat, they continued to struggle out on the pitch, and they were relegated back into the 4th tier in 2013. A return to the Kakkonen arrived in 2015, but it was short-lived, and since relegation in 2016, FC Santa Claus have experienced quite a severe decline. In fact, if this wasn't a Christmas Day special episode, it could just as easily have been part of my Rise and Fall, or What on Earth is Going On at series, since FC Santa Claus pretty much capitulated over the last 3 or 4 years. There have been a number of false dawns for the club, whether it be the hope of making it onto the FIFA video game series that I've already mentioned, or a supposedly lucrative partnership with a Chinese company called Bwin Sports, which saw the FC Santa Claus team trot off to Beijing to play an exhibition game against a number of Chinese celebrities in front of 60,000 fans. They won 1-0, but the partnership seemingly did little to aid the team's plight. In 2018, the club endured statistically one of the worst seasons in the history of Finnish football, as they went on a 16-game losing streak, including an 18-0 defeat, and conceded over 100 goals in only 22 games in total. They were unsurprisingly relegated in last place, dropping into the 5th tier for the first time, but their decline wasn't done just yet. In 2019, the club didn't fare much better, only winning 3 games and finishing in last place once again. It is here that we come to a point of some confusion, since FC Santa Claus's decline is so great that almost no records are kept, or at least published, in terms of Finnish football below the 5th tier. It is my understanding that following their second successive relegation, FC Santa Claus did not register for the 2020 season in the 6th tier, but have instead spent this season playing what amounts basically to park football. They still appear to have a functioning youth team set up to help develop talented local players, with the aim of bringing them into the first team and shifting them onto Lapland's most successful club eventually. My best guess, since I was unable to get any definitive answers, is that FC Santa Claus are biding their time before returning to the Finnish Football League system at senior level, perhaps until some of their more talented junior players are ready to play against adults. Of course, it's also possible that the club has decided that operating a senior team is no longer financially viable, but that would hardly correspond with their club motto. As mentioned just a moment ago, FC Santa Claus are not the only team in Lapland. By my count, there are currently 7 teams in Lapland who now play at a higher level than FC Santa Claus. Or, to put it another way, there are 7 teams who are still part of the league system. By far the most successful of these teams, and I apologise for any Finnish viewers for the pronunciation coming up, is Rovaniemi Palloseura, founded in 1950, who have actually had a bit of a year to forget themselves. Top flight regulars throughout most of the last 30 years, Rovaniemi Palloseura finished second in the Veikkausliiga, Finland's top flight, in 2018, meaning they featured in the Europa League last season where they were beaten by Aberdeen. However, in a rapid decline of their own, ROPS, as they are better known, were relegated in 2020, having won just 1 of their 22 games all season. ROPS actually have a fascinating past of their own, since they are infamous within Finnish football for their accusations and previous charges of match fixing, a scandal which has followed the club throughout the 2000s. That's another video for another time, but FC Santa Claus essentially hope to become a feeder club for ROPS, ideally with their neighbours competing in the top flight and Santa finally reaching the 2nd tier. The two teams already had a relationship of sorts, since they share a small but aesthetically pleasing 4,000-seater stadium, and FC Santa Claus felt that they could create a conveyor belt of talent from themselves to ROPS in the top flight. Of course, that never materialised, and now Rovaniemi, the home of Santa Claus since 1985, and Lapland in general, is without a top-flight team altogether, and Santa's own favourite club, FC Santa Claus, are no longer even part of the Finnish Football League pyramid. It is a sad situation for a fascinating city. Rovaniemi, a city which can get as hot as 32 degrees in the summer and as cold as minus 38 in the winter, going from permanent sunshine to seemingly never-ending darkness, saw its population grow rapidly during the 1800s due to an acceleration in the mining of natural resources in the region. Although the city has been continuously inhabited by people since at least the Stone Ages, there are almost no buildings in Rovaniemi that predate 1944. That's because at the end of the Lapland War, in November 1944, German troops employed a scorched earth policy which, along with the explosion of an ammunitions train, possibly by a Finnish commando unit, ended up destroying around 90% of all buildings in Rovaniemi. Finland actually fought 3 different entities during World War II: the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and Nazi Germany. From 1941 to 1944, Finland fought alongside Germany against the Soviet Union, with the United Kingdom signing an agreement of joint action with the Soviet Union that put it at war with Finland. However, in 1944, Finland signed the Moscow Armistice, and the Germans went from being their allies to their enemies. Finnish Lapland felt the heat of these conflicts, particularly when German troops retreated, and Finland technically remained at war with the Soviet Union and the United Kingdom until the Paris Peace Treaty of 1947. Rovaniemi was rapidly rebuilt in the years following 1944, and it's now a hotspot for students and for tourists visiting Lapland. All it needs now is a football team to match the city's lofty achievements and resurgence. FC Santa Claus, we're looking at you. That is it for today's video, but I wish you all a thoroughly enjoyable Christmas day. You may now return to spending time with your family should you celebrate Christmas and be fortunate enough to be able to spend it with them. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you did in the comments or by giving the video a like. Make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram by the username @HITC Sevens on both platforms should you wish to do so. Merry Christmas.